Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about naps, Google, and we have part 3 of our interview with Eddie Ross from Into the Mind podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a man that surrounds himself with winners. It's Chris Dames.
And I am a man who is led by a loser at shuffleboard. It's Russell Dames. How you doing, Russ?
Not bad stuff.
Good, thank you. Good. And we are joined by a girl who, in my eyes, is always a winner. It's Charlotte Dames. How you doing, Charlotte?
You're just saying let's finish the cycle, aren't you?
Hashtag winner. What cycle?
This little...
The circle of life.
And it lives in our soul. I can't sing. Don't try.
Genuinely, I'll tell you what happened the other day, Russ.
Yeah.
Charlotte tried to lift me up in the kitchen like I was the lion in the Lion King and hang me over the metaphorical mountain of the sink. She literally...
How did that go for her?
How did that go for you?
I put my hands in his armpits and started singing, and that was...
She put my hand in my armpits and started singing The Circle of Life for no particularly good reason. And then she picked up Sophie and started doing the Titanic theme tune.
Oh, wow.
Now, my question to you, Russ, does Kelly do that to you?
This is a sinking subject.
Why? Oh, God. Oh, God. That joke.
We've definitely hit an iceberg.
That joke really hit an iceberg.
No, that joke was just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, that joke was floating along nicely until the punchline and then bang. Something without a trace.
Kenny doesn't pick me up, no.
Does she not, but when it's time for bed, sling you over her shoulder and like...
No.
Carrie.
There is a funny story, though.
Go on then.
Most nights after work, I have a nap on the sofa.
No.
Hold on. That nap could turn into like 1, 2 o'clock. I wake up.
Right.
Kelly always, when she goes to bed about 11:30, 12, gives me a nudge and says to me, "Come on, it's time to get in bed."
She orders you to bed.
Yeah. So, and I don't get up.
Right.
Then I wake up all crippled because I'm on a sofa. Then me legs, because my legs are quite lanky, hang off the end.
Right.
So yeah.
It's your own fault.
The moral of the story, Kenny keeps saying to me, "Get in bed before you lay down, and don't lay on the sofa."
I'm guilty of that. The amount of times that I fall asleep on the sofa, you all the time, because then I'll put my head down to watch something, and suddenly I'm sort of
That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do.
I'm guilty of that.
You could just watch it in bed.
But I need to ask you a couple of questions. Where are you going?
Readjusting.
You can't just pop off for a readjustment while you're halfway through a podcast.
You guys are having a voice chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm not silly enough to fall asleep on the sofa. So.
But you know what, Russ? The funny thing about that is the nature of the nap. That's what I want to explore, because I've said this to people in the past. I've said, I'll have a little, if I've got back from work, I might go to bed and have a power nap. And people said to me, "How long are you calling a power nap? A couple of hours? Got a 2-hour power nap easily." And they will say to me, a 2-hour sleep is not a nap.
Well,
20 minutes is a nap.
Well,
apparently, I've been told that the maximum you can call a nap is 20 minutes.
Well,
What do you think? What's the longest nap? Unofficial question of the podcast is, what's the longest you can actually nap?
theoretically, a nap should be an hour and a half.
Why?
Because that's the entire sleep That's how long it takes me to go through all the sleep stages.
Circadian rhythm, yeah?
No,
what?
that's not what circadian rhythm is. Circadian rhythm would be something like the sleep-wake cycle, so how long you stay awake and how long you sleep for combined. That's your circadian. That's the sleep-wake cycle. But the
No, circadian rhythm isn't. I thought, and I will stand corrected if I'm wrong, but the circadian rhythm is how long it takes you to go from one whole cycle. No, cycle of sleep, and that takes an hour and a half. Okay, all right. Well, what do you think, Russ? What's a circadian rhythm?
I'm just googling it now.
Oh, no, don't know. It's cheating.
circadian rhythms happen around 24 hours. Infraradian rhythms happen less than once a day.
Tell us, Captain Google.
Rhythms happen more than once a day. So,
Captain Google, tell us what a circadian rhythm is.
More than once in 24 hours.
We're waiting on your ass. Oh, he's on mute.
Yes, hold on.
Producer Russ is telling us.
Circadian rhythms are physical, mental, and behavioural changes following a 24-hour cycle.
What did I say?
Okay.
We did this part of biopsychology.
Fair
I am
enough.
not educated on this matter.
Okay, no, fair enough. So it's not a circadian rhythm. What's the, look,
It seems it's not only games that you're beat at, mate.
Yeah.
Okay. I make the world a happier place, though. That's what happens. My job is to delegate responsibility.
I'll fire. I received that email, not you. I forwarded it on to you.
Sorry, even though you've for the first time in 4 years managed to do an intro that made sense, you are not the host of this podcast. Don't get above your station, all right, producer Russ?
But there will be a podcast without me.
Yes, that's what producers do. What they don't do is try and take over the podcast, pirate producer Russ.
Let me just clarify with you, though. If there was no podcast, I wouldn't be making the world an happier place.
This is the adult version of him kicking the bunk.
I am well and truly
literally 4 years work, and he's now kicking the podcast. Anyway, on that note, we will stop having a domestic, a brotherly domestic on the podcast, and we'll get on to the question of the podcast, which is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Russ?
Don't trust your brother.
Charlotte?
No, it must be. If he says it's one thing, it's got to be something else.
What do you mean?
Well, we was having simple things, and then they just go into madness job.
Yeah, we have got to, when Chris gives me a job, assume it's going to be 47 times the amount of work when we're finished. But the podcast, isn't it? We started this as a little hobby, and suddenly 100,000 plus listeners in, we've created a bit of a beast.
Do you know what? I look at them numbers most days to see what sort of numbers we're pushing daily.
Yeah.
And I'm
pushing daily. What, with the podcast version of drugs?
Yeah. We're the podcast version of drugs. People smoke marijuana to be happy.
That is not a tagline we're going for, Russ.
We're talking
to be happy.
We target a small but specific number of people, and we're very addictive.
This is very true. No, what?
We are not. Right. You two, please stop. We are not calling ourselves The Kindness Project, a podcast designed to spread goodwill and joy and make the world a happier place. The podcast version of drugs.
To make it an even better analogy, people can jack us up in their ears.
You can say that. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Next time I listen to say to somebody, listen to the podcast, because you might really enjoy some of the stories of football. I'm not going to say that, Russ. I'm just going to go, you've got a podcast, Chris, have you? Yeah. I tell you what you might enjoy, jacking us up in your ears. Where did that come from?
I mean jacking up the volume.
No, I'm finding this very amusing.
Right, we are not. Let's just clarify. we are not. My advice, the best advice I've ever received, do not call your podcast about goodwill and kindness my podcast version of drugs. I'm not calling it that. What are you calling that? Don't say the podcast version of crack. I'm not accepting it.
This podcast is the good kush.
Oh God! Can you put a warning at the start of the podcast? May contain drug references. Russ? I'm not. I don't know where this is in. Anyway, Charlotte, tell me about. Let's try and move away from Russell's bizarre marketing ideas for the podcast. Jack us in your ears. What's the best advice you think you've ever received? Apart from when you try and drink an orange juice, drink it with your mouth, not your nose.
I don't know. I think it changes regularly.
Okay.
And then sometimes I say things that I don't know where they come from, and they come out very profound.
Okay. Sorry, are you saying the best piece of advice you've ever received is from yourself? That is arrogant. That is arrogant.
That's good advice. Never get a wrong answer if you listen to yourself.
No,
you get a lot of wrong answers.
No, I absolutely disagree. And interestingly, we've got Eddie Ross on this week talking about mental health, part three of the interview. And I suppose one of the things that I've been conscious of recently is that inner voice, and sometimes listening to that inner voice doesn't do us any favours, because that sometimes that internal voice that we've all got thinks it acts in our best interest, but doesn't always. What do you think of that, Russ?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. The mind can play funny tricks on you.
Yeah, agree. And we, I think that's the problem is with the advice. The best advice you can get is from yourself. Is often it's not, is it?
No. The worst advice you can get is from yourself as well, if that's the case.
Yeah, because that inner voice hasn't got any external perspective. So yeah, I think actually the best piece of advice you could potentially give somebody is don't always listen to your inner voice.
No, but you ever say something do you think is oh, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
This morning I said something along the lines of the will of man is not able to control the universe in the way that the universe can control the will of man. I was like, what? Where did
sounds all right to me.
Yeah.
The will of man. Say it again. The will of man.
The will of man is not able to control the universe the way the universe can control the will of man.
That's like Poppins speak for freedom of thought, isn't it?
Boffins. Right.
So,
as Charlotte's my daughter, I'll say that was very wise and profound. As your weird uncle, Russell can sit around and go, let's boffin speak. Boffin speak?
It's right.
Well done on supporting your niece. Boffin speak?
Knees.
I have to say, we're very proud of Charlotte. Charlotte's done really well.
Boffin. She's done really well for a boffin. How about your brother? Or your dad? I can't remember what one I'm calling.
She overshadowed you massively.
Right, sorry. When you get to where you're, I know it took me 20 years and you can rub it in, but
every day
when you get to a situation where you're wearing your gown and hat, then you can.
Yeah, give me 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
I'll have my PhD, by
Exactly.
I'll be done.
Oh yeah.
I'll be Dr. James, by then.
Chris James.
Great. Oh yes, we will talk about that on a future episode of the podcast. But we have decided that my PhD, Russ, is going to be called Chris James's Mental Money.
There's more to it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, what we'd like, listeners, because apparently we've still got listeners after that shambolic nonsense.
We're sorry.
What we'd like to do, listeners, is hear what your best piece of advice you've ever received is, and you can get in touch with us using the following channels.
Chanel, like the perfume.
Here's the boffin. Go on, Bob Job. Off you go, Bob Job.
Okay, so you can get in touch with us on Twitter at Ola Kindness.
Right, sorry. Can you do the next bit less boffiny?
You can get in touch with us on Facebook at The Kindness Project. Or
Right, no. Next bit, more boffin-esque.
I don't know what a boffin is.
It's a right. Can you explain a boffin, Russ? As it's your phrase?
That's probably an 80s term for somebody that was very smart.
Very studious.
Yeah, very studious, yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I turn up to college and just want to go back to bed.
Have you never heard the phrase boffin?
No.
Oh, it's a great phrase. Use it.
No.
Because I don't call her. I just call her my smart, hard-working daughter. Not boff job like you, Russ. Anyway, you don't Facebook, you don't Twitter. How else can people get in touch?
Right.
Boffin.
Are you going to interrupt me again?
No, I'm going to shut up then.
Yeah, thank you. So if you want to get in touch,
Sorry, I'm not.
buff job.
I don't know if you heard that, listeners, but in the background, we've now got Sophie saying the phrase boff job. Oh, Russ, what have you started? What have you started?
I need to finish writing this cycle. Okay, so we have an... Eat your dinner. Okay, so we have an email, which is on thekindnessproject.co.uk. We have a website, which is www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. I have to make the typing motion. Otherwise, my brain doesn't do the thing. Thinking.
Yep.
And I think I've covered all channels. We have Instagram.
I mean, just Google us, the Kindness Project podcast. You know, you'll find us all over the show. Every single one of our episodes available to download on the website. You can buy merch, you can get involved, you can email us. We've had some lovely, as the dog, we've had some lovely feedback this week from one of our listeners saying how amazing their podcast is. And actually, that's what we do it for. We do it so we can make the world a slightly happier place, which is exactly what the email we got this week said. So thank you for sending that to us. We really, really, really appreciate it. And on that note, let's move on to a little bit of
Kindness news. Came back just in time for that.
vending machine version. Vending machines are now giving machines where people can donate chickens, blankets, boots, and basketballs. Apparently, employing the common and easily understood method of the vending machine, these giving machines allow passerbyers in American cities to make a charitable donation to a fellow citizen through local and global causes, catering to impulsive givers to indulge their altruistic impulses. Altruistic?
Altruistic.
Okay.
You've got to pronounce the R.
What a buff. They can use the vending machine. Really made Russell laugh. They can use the vending machine to purchase anything from a single goat. So why are you putting a goat in the vending machine? What is going on? To two chickens to provide a household. Sorry, did you pick this one, Russ? Who puts a goat in a vending machine? or even a day at Yankee Stadium for an orphan team. While donors make their purchase via credit card, the giving machine dispenses a postcard featuring an image and description of their donation. Of the 10 cities with vending machines nationwide, one of them will be so a donor goes up to a vending machine and picks what they want to give and what charity they want to support. I understand now. It's not a goat coming out of the vending machine. Sorry. Of the 10 cities with vending machines nationwide, one of them will be located at Rockefeller Center in New York City, just south of its famed Christmas tree. Rockefeller Center is probably the most famous ice rink in the world. You know 30 Rock, the show?
Yes.
That's where that's at.
I can't skate.
I've been to Rockefeller Center when they've been skating, but it's an amazing place.
And you didn't see no goats while you was there, no?
Sorry?
You didn't see no goats?
Not skating, they're not great here. The machine will kick off on Tuesday, November the 30th, the day known as Giving Tuesday, with speeches from people at UNICEF, WaterAid, the UNHCR, CARE, the Mariano Riviera Foundation, and other charities. The first giving machine ever installed opened in 2017 in Salt Lake City, Utah, where the sponsoring organisation is headquartered. The Utah pilot program was impressive, yielding donations totaling more than $500,000. And 1 year later, the response was even stronger, with more than £2.3 million donated through a total of 92,190 giving machine transactions. In 2019, the program expanded and donations topped 6.2 million. And after being halted in 2020 due to COVID, the giving machines this year are back in 10 different US cities, with all admin costs covered by the church who's running the vending machines, so that 100% of each donation goes to charity. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like the idea of giving a donation, getting a postcard describing a little bit about you've bought a goat for a family or whatever it may be, and just doing that. So vending machines as a way to make a charitable gift, I actually love. Sophie is actually going to come on. Are you going to come and have a conversation? What do you want to say about this?
Why would you give a goat to a family?
You know what? A goat is quite a good donation for a family.
Because it's a farm animal, so they can milk it, breed it, eat it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
And also the chicken, are they giving it live or dead?
Live, I assume.
Possibly live, because bear in mind that
You don't know what religion or if they're vegetarian.
You don't. But what the idea of donating either a chicken or a goat to a family stove is that then allows that, particularly with the chicken delivering eggs, effectively that could feed a family and be a sustainable food resource.
And not only that, if you manage to find a way to breed the chicken, then you've got chickens all the way down generations.
Yeah.
And then you can sell the meat, you can breed it on, you can sell the eggs.
Yeah.
So
actually an animal is a very good donation for, and again in other countries. Well, because in other countries, sorry, listeners, Sophie just asked why. Because in other countries, food is the biggest lack of resource, isn't it? So if you can support a family to eat, then and not only just by delivering a meal, but delivering a source of food that can be sustainable,
and
then that might be a good thing to do, right?
As well for food in the future.
Yeah. Makes sense? Yeah, got it. Right, okay, so we've answered that question. I mean, Sophie did ask me the other day, and I didn't know the answer. Why is dry gin called dry gin? Because it seems very wet. So Sophie normally has a really good line in insightful questions.
Is it not something to do with the fermentation process?
No, it's because dry gin is unflavoured. So a dry gin is a gin without any flavour, and then you've got those rhubarb gin and all that sort of stuff. So a rhubarb gin can't be a dry gin because it's got flavour in. That's why. Anyway, on the gin podcast this week.
This is not the gin podcast.
On the Kindness Project this week, we have got the third part of our interview with Eddie Ross. Now, Eddie is an amazing guy, runs a mental health podcast called Into the Mind, Russ?
Yeah, Into the Mind.
Into the Mind. And we loved chatting to Eddie about the work he does, the insights he's given through his own mental health journey, what he's learned along the way, and much more. Now, if you haven't listened to the first two parts of the podcast, please go back and have a little listen. And I really hope you enjoy this third part. How easy was it for you to be as open? Because I've listened to a few episodes. How easy was it for you to?
Really not easy at all. Because work didn't know that I was a functioning addict.
Right.
So that was one of the hardest things, because I had to go to HR and basically be like, this is what happened a couple of years ago. It's fine now, but as I run a mental health page, I feel like I'm not being honest. with everyone on there. So, am I going to get repercussions at work by saying this and this and this? They went, that's fine, as long as you don't mention where you work. I went, okay, that's fair enough, because we have a lot of clients, we have thousands of clients that come into to work. And, so I said to them, okay, that's fine. And now my two bosses follow the page. So they now know my story and stuff like that. And they just said, inspiring. Like, rather than being going, you shouldn't have been doing that at work.
Yeah.
Now that's sorted himself out.
But then there's an argument, say, and I think this is one that, we should be a bit clearer about. Authenticity matters. Like we talked about some of the pros and cons about social media, and I think often we're all guilty. I certainly am of showing the best side of my life and not highlighting some of the when I'm getting up at 6 a.m. and like sort of the kids are screaming, like all of that sort of stuff, which happens to all of us, doesn't it? But I think the important element is that authenticity piece. I mean, are you being genuine and authentic? And I think people actually respect that once they've got over the initial barrier.
I would rather someone say to me, Ed, I can't see you this week, so I'm not feeling myself. Rather than going, come round and them just being quiet or something like that. I'd rather you just say, because I might mention something that's a bit of a trigger if you're not okay at the moment. So it is 100% better to be honest and open with your feelings, and don't ever think that you're going to get some sort of knockback or any kind of repercussions for it, because whoever it is that they have them faults as well. It's just that you're brave enough to tell them. Everyone else has the same feeling.
Well, this is part of the challenge, isn't it? We need to open up that dialogue about mental health and say that we all feel like that in one way or the other.
We've all experienced it at some point. It's just some people might cope with it better than others. So even if you don't cope with it well, that's fine. You just cope with it differently. There's probably other people out there with the same kind of situation that I have, who have done brilliantly well, but it's taken me a long time to get to the place where I am today.
Now you mentioned something earlier that was really interesting, saying about how you're fairly empathetic. And in my head, I thought, well, how do you make sure that you're setting enough boundaries for you to make sure that you're okay? Talk to me a little bit about how you do that. Or do you?
It's only recently I started.
Right.
So, do you know what I actually learned from actually seeing my therapist? I thought, why do I only see my therapist once a week? That's why, because it gets a bit much. Right, okay. So then I booked people in for slots once a week. With different people once a week online. So because otherwise I was getting people come on who would go, this happened to me today, and then we'd talk about it, and I'd be nice and polite, and we'd get through it all, and then tomorrow will be the same problem. And it's like, okay, I have got other people that actually generally need me. I know that you do as well, but I can't speak to you every day. Otherwise then I'm becoming your friend. And although I haven't got a problem with that, but this is a professional page. This is something that I want to do full time. I can't be mates with every person I talk to who has issues at home or issues at work. Otherwise, that way, my whole life is depressing. I do need to set some kind of boundaries. And, there are people on there that go, I'm just looking for a friend at the moment. I've got no one to talk to. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can talk to me at Monday, 8 o'clock till 9.
I suppose it's one thing we've talked about on the podcast before, and I'm in the process of writing the Kindness Project book based on what I've learned interviewing
that's really good.
People. I'm saying the book's written, the book isn't edited yet, and that's the worst bit about trying to get...
The book's already written, and now you've invited me.
Well,
you should have invited me on.
Clearly I'm going to put your bits in, mate. I can edit. But I've just done myself out. I can't get out of. I suppose one of the things, and it's interesting in terms of the format of the book, because we talk about the fact how it's so important to be kind to yourself, because then that gives you more capacity to be kind to others.
Yeah. I can't do what I do if I'm down myself.
Yeah.
I can't talk to other people about their problems if I'm having problems myself.
Yeah.
So, that's why I say to everyone, I'm going to have to cancel your appointment because I've got things going on myself. You're never going to be able to help someone if you're not right. So you do need to be in the right mentality for
the analogy we always use and talk to Charlotte about is that, like that flight, if you're flying over and the sort of, if they say, look, if you're going to crash, put your oxygen mask on first and then help other people so that you can do that. I think that's really important. Now,
very clever analogy, actually.
I love a good analogy. I do love a good analogy. Feel free to steal anything you want. But I suppose one of the other things I'm really excited about, you've alluded to, is what the future looks like for Into the Mind. So tell me a bit about that. What does that look like?
The goal is the charity. The goal is a charity.
Right, what does that charity do?
So what it is that obviously the NHS waiting time is far too long. So I want my own group of therapists in an office or whether it'll be online, because a lot of people don't actually like to do face-to-face either. I know people that email their therapists.
Yeah.
So it doesn't all have to be online. It can be Zoom, it can be text message, it can be email. But it is for preferably the unemployed, or if you can't afford it, doing payment plans. That is the goal. So, you can go to your local GP and say, I'm not feeling this and this and this. I think I need to talk to somebody. And then the GP will go, okay, well, you either have NHS, which is you get seen in 10 weeks' time, or Into the Mind have a slot in 2 weeks. That's what the goal is.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, I need enough donations to pay my wage and my therapist's wage, because obviously they can't do it for free.
Yeah.
But that is the plan: is to help other people in a much larger scale and a more professional scale, because I'm not actually qualified. I'm not qualified counsellor, I'm not qualified therapist, and I state that to people as soon as I talk to them, is that, I don't have any qualifications. All I can give you is my life experience. And a lot of people are okay with that.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to make it into a charity, I need to be on a professional level, which then will be passed over. I won't be talking to anyone else.
So your aim is to do this full time, right?
It's full time. Is to do the podcast full time, the website full time, everything. I want to drop the tools and help. I just want to help people. I mean, I would hate for anyone to feel the way that I did at the time. So if I can provide that service,
add value,
then I'll be able to sleep happy.
So what's the next step? Like, so that's the long term plan. What's the short term plan? How do we get there?
I'm planning. There's a lot to do, but I mean, it's little simple stuff at the moment, like the t-shirts and the wristbands. They're all advertising. So I'm now at the moment. I've just got drawings back from my illustrator, and then we're going to do jumpers for the weekend.
Oh, cool!
Not for the weekend, for the winter. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing
for the really cold weekend.
Yeah. The weekend that no one wants to be at.
Yeah. Get rid of them during the week.
Yeah.
I mean, you won't need them, but the weekend.
Monday to Friday, that's your uniform, but the weekend is Into the Mind time.
During the week, put the Into the Mind t-shirt back on, you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's all advertising, and I have my business cards that I hand out on the tube whilst I'm wearing my actual company's logo to go to work, and it can be a bit confusing. I'll hand out my business card and people think, well, do I look mad?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's just in case. Pass it on to someone else. So the more people I get, then I mean, I could even employ, like an undergrad who's studying psychology, or who wants to be a therapist, who's got their level 2 counselling and just wants to experience with it. I could then get them people in.
Yeah.
Which then weren't.
Well, I suppose the other way of doing it is looking at who you can sort of potentially collaborate and work with to support you to do that.
Yeah,
as well, isn't it?
I mean, I am in contact at the moment. I can't say with who, but they're part of the St Prince's Trust and stuff like that, and they're very good at supporting, and they've been. So I've been in contact with their accountant, their financial advisor, on what we can do next.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's like I want to ask for a handout without asking for a handout.
Yeah.
Because that is what I need. I need a handout to get anything, to get a ball rolling. The only thing is what I do, I can't give you back.
Yeah.
So so you can't put 30,000 into the mind, and I can't give you 35. Because it's all. But
I suppose charities are, are in a position where they've got to evidence the value they give in social impact.
So then I'd have to give evidence to the fact that I am having employees and I'm paying them regularly and stuff like that. And any donations go to
you know what? I mean, in my experience, the bigger charities do that better because they've got more of a track record and can show what they've got. The challenge is starting from afresh. You haven't got that, and it's
I'd quite like to buddy up with charities. So let's say like Mind. If then you could have the Into the Mind program. I'd like to do that just to kind of put my foot in the door. And be like, okay, so this is actually what it's like. And then even then I can decide, okay, it's a bit too much for me, or I'm in love with it, I want to put my tools down. This is what I want to do. So I'd like to buddy up with a charity before I probably jump into the deep end with both feet. Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Having conversations with people who've done it before is probably, and certainly after we wrap up, there's a couple of people who might be able to help you on that we've interviewed on the podcast before. They may or may not be in the book, but I'll definitely make sure you are. Because you're the first person who said, why am I not in the book? Which is a bold move. But I've got to
better not be my only line in the book.
And that would be amazing. Eddie said, why am I in the book? And there was in the book. And that would literally be the only time you get mentioned. That's amazing. Now, we've talked about, sort of getting you support and making sure that you can sort of get to a point where you can help more people. How can our audience help?
Just by sharing the page, sharing the website, because the website you can actually get in touch with me there as well by email, and I do talk to people on the site, email, Instagram, so that will help. So streaming with the podcast always helps. It's been heard in 36 countries at the moment, which is incredible for just a year of just me talking about myself. I mean, 36 different countries. Who wants to listen just to me?
You know what? It's crazy. It is mind blowing. I mean, when we look at the amount of countries that listen to the Kindness Project and the sort of amount of downloads we get, you go, you know what? There is a passion for people hearing good news stories. And I just think to myself,
does all these 35 countries listen? Do they actually speak English? All these countries.
Well, I mean, the Russ, who's our producer, loves sending me a report once a month going, right, we've just had 47 downloads in Eritrea. I was going, I don't even know where Eritrea is.
Exactly.
So it is always quite a nice thing to get.
It is.
And you've talked about how people can support you. Just tell us a little bit about where they can find you online.
www.intothemind.co.uk. Very easy, very simple. Also on Instagram, it's at Into the Mind 1. The podcast is on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcast for Into the Mind. And just get in contact with me there. Even if you want me to pass on my details onto someone else, or if someone else is struggling, bring them forward to me. The only thing is I can't say to you, someone else has gave me your number, I just want to see if you're okay. Or here's your Instagram, I just want to say hello. I can't do that. So if anyone needs help, they have to come to me. Unfortunately, because otherwise I'm invading space. But I don't care if people like the post or comment. I'm not bothered about that. It's the sharing. As long as you're sharing, that's what gets me seen and recognised, and that's why I'm talking to people in Canada and Germany and places, California, Phoenix. That's all it is. It's just by sharing.
Okay, great. So if our listeners could share, that would be amazing. That'd be you'd be doing me a massive favour as well. And Eddie, thank you for being amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
So that was the last part of Eddie's interview. What do you think of that?
It was good. It was
good.
good.
Do you want to do your end bit?
Yep. Really prepping the diaphragm for this. Tis the end of another podcast, but the end isn't really the end because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new.
And that entirely new is last week's question in the podcast. And last week's question in the podcast was, what song always makes you have a little smile? And there is a lot of answers on this. Charlie said, I massively overthought this. I ended up having a look at my all-time Spotify stats. On the Ball by Bryce Vine. Get Up by Mother Mother.
Oh, Mother, yes.
Or is that any good? Get Up by Mother Mother.
Right, Mother. I
Okay.
like everything. Right?
Or Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. Quite heavy. Nick Heath said, Come and See Me Make Me Smile. Steve Harley and Conty Rebel. Amazing tune. Cassie James says, Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Not yet, Cass. Dave Forsyth says, Breaking the Law. Is quite heavy this week.
Actually, by the time this episode goes out, it will be December.
Okay, so you allowed it.
Yeah.
Dave Forsyth said Breaking the Law by Judas Priest. One of the first songs I learnt as a drummer and one I know the words to. Vicky Elliott said Noah and the Whale, 5 years' time. I like that one. John Cook said Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles and Never Knew Love Like This Before by Stephanie Mills. I actually like that song as well. Sam Chilton said Once in a Lifetime Talking Heads. Literally just smiled my way in the car this morning when it came on. Simon Burt said Madness, Wings of a Dove. Mark Bartley said Mr. Sunshine. Roberta White said Isn't She Lovely, Stevie Wonder.
Al McCann said that's Amore.
When the
Oh yes, it's just Jodie.
moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. Russ? Right,
No.
try again. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie.
That's amore.
Don't do that again. Jodie said, You Can Call Me Al
Oh yes, love that song.
by Paul Simon.
Justin Gaffney said ABBA's Man After Midnight.
Oh, Justin, I love you, mate. I love you. But I knew you were going to go for a bit of ABBA. Very camp, that one. And on that note, Russell is going to finish the podcast by giving us a rendition of Man After Midnight by ABBA, starting now.
No, it's not.
Give me a man after. Right, I know. And on that note, have a lovely week, ladies and gentlemen. Russell's going to finish with a rendition of Ness and Dorma by Pavarotti, starting now.
Ness and Dorma, they will stop listening.
Have a good week, guys. Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.